They say yoga is a way of life. But for some, yoga post-October 7th is a matter of life and death.
I meditated early in the morning of October 7th. I was drinking my tea and checking messages on my phone. That's when all the craziness started happening. And then a world war starts. It was something completely unproportional. I thought to myself, where is my place on this day?
Ohad Meir became a certified yoga teacher after suffering PTSD from his military service in a combat unit.
I define myself as a fighter. I worked security in the army for 12 years. My PTSD didn't hold me back at work. It affected me at home. It continues at home. The war continues at home. Most Israelis come back to their routine one way or another, but the PTSD symptoms will be much worse.
On the morning of October 7th, Ohad suited up to do his part to combat Hamas terrorists, only to re-trigger his post-trauma.
I felt my job was getting in the way of my doing yoga workshops for the soldiers. There's nothing more important right now. They even offered me a raise at the end of the year. But this is my personal mission. I told my boss I don't want to come off like an idiot, but I'm leaving.
Ohad is part of an impressive nonprofit called Brothers in Yoga, which is helping soldiers with PTSD get onto a path toward healing. Is it a crisis?
Oh, completely a crisis. I would say that it felt like a crisis before October 7th, just a crisis that no one talks about. But if you looked at numbers, it was already, tens of thousands of people dealing with PTSD, not talking about it.
Netta Margalit, the founder of Brothers in Yoga, says the growing wave of soldiers trying to settle back into daily life after going through fighting in Gaza has reached a critical juncture. And this particular yoga practice is pivotal for the body, mind, and soul.
It's amazing beyond words to see what happens when someone is dealing with PTSD and is a model for the participants that come. Directly, they want to be the next teacher too, because they see the growth, they see the opportunity to heal very, very deeply and to help others.
Ohad is now teaching yoga to both soldiers and reservists on their military bases, as well as groups of veterans with PTSD. Similarly, there's a program called Sisters in Yoga for female soldiers and also women like Inbar Franco, who is still suffering from the residual effects of surviving a terror attack.
I feel yoga has given me a foundation in life. It really gives me stability. During the last few years, my life was topsy-turvy and I was ungrounded.
Inbar is now also a certified yoga instructor, which is giving her purpose.
Everyone is experiencing trauma during this stage of life. Everyone here is going through a huge trauma.
Today, there are many layers of the trauma. It's also families who were murdered on October the 7th. It's also the women who were kidnapped, soldiers who were wounded or lost friends in the war. Everyone is affected on a soul level.
Clinical psychologist and member of the Brothers in Yoga team, Dr. Shachar Mor Yosef, has been specializing in PTSD for decades, but says the scale of what the entire country has experienced since October 7th will take a generation to heal.
My specialty is post-trauma. It takes time to understand how to treat. It's going to take many years, at least 20 years.
But studies do show that this ancient practice and the tools gained are promising for long-term healing.
There's something about yoga, through the breathing, through the asanas, and through the approach that really creates an internal physical change in the body. It's good to go to treatment and talk, but if you try to preserve your yoga practice, it will be harder to recover out of this.
Our trauma, the stress we experience in our body, that we experience on the outside, leaves a signature in our bodies. Patience, consistency, and awareness of your emotional and physical. It requires patience, consistency, and awareness of your emotional and physical being. You can't ignore what you are feeling.
Listen, with that national issue that we have right now, there's no other national solution except touching the root. And I think this is really the only solution that we can give for the whole country to really heal.